Hello and welcome back to Bookish Brits. My name is Michelle and you'll have to forgive me. I've filmed this video in advance. I am currently on holiday right now, but before I left, I thought that I would share with you some books that make me want to travel within the UK. This is something that I've talked about quite often on my blog. There are different books set in Paris or Japan or wherever that just make me feel like the really strong urge to go traveling. And something that I really like is when books come along that make me want to travel within the country that I live. I love when books feel like they're a little bit more accessible to me, and I've read 5 books lately that have done that. 3 of the books were set in Scotland, which is where I will be spending the first part of my holiday, and the other 2 books were set in Cornwall, I believe, whereas I will be in the Lake District. Whatever. So the first book I wanted to talk to you about is This Northern Sky by Julia Green. I really adore Julia Green's books. I think they're very sweet and gentle contemporary stories, usually involving like family members and friendship and really gentle love stories, if there's one at all. And I really loved This Northern Sky. It's the story about a girl who travels up to one of these remote islands as her parents are sort of dealing with the will they, sort of won't they get divorced, and the main character starts to get heavily involved in the island life and meeting new people as she's walking along, trying to get her head on straight about what is happening to her family. And I really loved the descriptions of this island and the people who live on it, and I read This Northern Sky and it made me really curious to go and see some of these islands and see if it really is as beautiful and isolated as Julia Green portrayed them in this book. I also recently read and loved A Kiss in the Dark by Kat Clark. It's the story about 2 teenagers, Alex and Kate, who start up a new relationship, and they both are concealing some really major secrets that threaten to break down this new budding sweet relationship. But the thing that I really liked about A Kiss in the Dark particularly is that it is set in Edinburgh, and there were so many different mentions of different streets and places, and they go on a few dates, and it just sounded really cute. And Edinburgh is a city already that I really want to explore more, and reading A Kiss in the Dark made me want to explore it even more, which I didn't think was possible. Now, The Falconer by Elizabeth May is slightly different to the previous 2 books in that it's this historical fantasy book with elements of steampunk to it, and while This Northern Sky and A Kiss in the Dark are contemporary stories set in the modern day, The Falconer is set in the 1800s. It has this main character who is slightly restricted in her position in society. She's also physically restricted with corsets and things. And instead of carrying on with all of these restrictions and pressures from society on her, she kind of busts out of those after the death of her mother, and she starts hunting the creatures that killed her mother, which are fairies, and it was so much fun to read. I've continually recommended this book just endlessly since I finished reading it. I'm recommending it now. It is so very good. There are quite a few different mentions of this Edinburgh as the setting. Bridges are blown up and there's destruction across Edinburgh, and it was wonderful to see. Really good. I definitely could see the influence of Edinburgh on this story, and it was amazing. I've also recently read 2 books set in Cornwall. The first was Summer's Shadow by Anna Wilson. I believe this is Anna Wilson's debut book, and it's the story about a girl who is grieving the loss of her mother, and she's very confused about the fact that she is put into her will that she is to stay with this complete stranger in this old rambling house in Cornwall. She's never heard of this man. She goes to stay with him, and it's all kinds of awkward. You know, he's married, he has a daughter, nobody really like gets along very well, and in order to process everything that goes on, the main character goes down to this like private beach on their property and just sort of hangs out trying to put things together, and she meets this stranger, this boy on the beach, and through her relationship with him she starts to put together the pieces of this mystery and also find a way to move on from her grief. And it was really, really sweet. I really liked the sort of healing properties of this private beach in Cornwall, and how much the setting of this book in Cornwall seems to really affect the events that happen. It was really good. I do recommend it. And the last book that I wanted to talk to you about today that makes me want to travel within the UK is a book called Blue by Lisa Glass, and it's a surfing story. It's a surfing story with really hot surfer boys and this sizzling romance, and I just fell in love with it entirely. It's a perfect book to read. It's summer, and I think my favourite aspect of the book, aside from the surfing and aside from the cute romance, is definitely that this book is, instead of being set in some place really exotic like Australia or Hawaii or California or something, it's set in Newquay, which is in the UK. I could get into my car and drive there within a few hours, and I loved that sense of accessibility, and you know, the fact that it is just here and I can read about it, and it was a really great story involving surfing and romance and the summer. It's a really, really wonderful story, one that I flew through its pages incredibly quickly. I'm really looking forward to the sequel. Top stuff. So those are the 5 books that I've read recently that have made me want to travel within the UK. What are your favourite stories with UK settings? Please let me know. I'd love to hear from you, and I will see you when I return from my holiday. Thank you so much for watching.